got spare parts from my last broken heart. Somehow more than what I had to start. Yeah, I've got spare parts. I tried to fix it best I remembered it. I hope it runs when I fire it up, 'cause I got spare parts. So if you see something that you might need, anything you can use, what's left of it might be a perfect fit, 'cause I got spare parts. Took a piece of you, like lovers often do. I'll try to make it good as new, 'cause I got spare parts. So if you see something that you might need, anything you can use, what's left of it might be the perfect fit, 'cause I've got spare parts. What's left of it might be the perfect fit, 'cause I've got spare.
Live and in person here from Epping, New Hampshire, home of 3 of New Hampshire's governors, politicking Mr. B. What a beautiful day. We have absolutely had a fantastic day out. It started out so lovely this morning, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I woke up, I looked up my side of the house window, and I happened to see not one, but 2 wonderful delightful little powder puff tailed jackrabbit bunnies munching on the grass that we got out there. It's getting a little bit overgrown because the lawnmower is loaned off to my stepson, has it the other over there. He'll be over here. He'll give the grass a cut, but that's okay. We're feeding the animals. What a wonderful thing we got going on over here. And just before when we came in here, got a quick blip. Well, yeah, try that again. Got a quick view of a blip of view of our engineer, Mr. Blazeman. I want to thank him very much for doing all the work that he is always doing, putting things together. And right now, he's going to do a wonderful deed over there. Mr. Blazeman's going to run up the colors because we got a show to get on the road. Mr. Blazeman, thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And when I say all of the people who are citizens here and visitors here who are, as long as you are here in a manner which is prescribed by law that is legal. We thank you very much for being here, coming here, visiting, doing whatever it is you're doing. You were born here, or if you emigrated here, that's wonderful, fine. But if you are here illegally, you are an illegal alien. You do not belong here. Please go out. Follow the rules. Come back the way you should, and you'll be welcomed here. And you also can enjoy the blessings of the liberty that is here, that was, as we say, ordained and established back in 1787. A document was penned here in the United States called our Constitution. And it begins, "We the people of the United States." And why is it saying that? Now, everybody thinks that this all happened back in 1776. No. That was our Declaration of Independence. We did not have a viable, working, ratified Constitution until 1787. Because people had a this and that and chit and chat and blit and blat and whatever it was, doing all the legalese terms and so forth and considerations of the time to get through all of the garble and the harble and the mumble and the jumbo and whatever it is that made up the Constitution that we always are making reference to. We, the people of the United States, at that time, they had won the war of revolution to separate and push out the British. So we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty for ourselves and our posterity. We do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. The people who were elected to represent them, living in the country at the time, post-Revolutionary War, needed documentation that says this constitutes who we are. This shows that we are a nation, and this spells out what makes us this nation. And unfortunately, there are people who are in government now that ignore it. They believe it's something archaic. It's something that we shouldn't be paying attention to. And this is something that we really, really need to know. This is something that we really need in our representatives, our people that are going to go back to this document, look at it, embrace it, so that we may have for our posterity the blessings of liberty continue. Not just liberty for some, and for the others that may think of something else thinking, ugats. No. We are a country of justice and equity. And we must remain that, regardless of what a person's affiliations for what party is. I don't know about anyone else that's out there, but I myself, I vote my conscience, whom I believe will do the best job, whom I believe will look at this document that others pass off as archaic and antiquated and will live within the confines and concepts of what is in that document. We have a little something here from one of the founding fathers, Hamilton. Mr. Blazeman, if you've got that, could you put that up? I want to read this to you folks, show you what this has to say. I hope we'll be able to zoom in on it. Maybe we can tighten up a little bit. Doing a little work, ladies and gentlemen. He'll get to it. I know he'll be able to do something with it. By the way, we have a call-in phone number for you folks. I'd love for you folks to pick up the phone, call us, and talk with us about what's going on. 508-974-4231. We're going to be talking about, in a few minutes, we're going to be talking about things having to do with the COVID-19 vaccinations and people that are starting to get rich off of it, or out of the fallout from it, so to speak. But in a minute, okay, Mr. Blazeman, if you've got that ready, thank you. You can put that up. We could zoom in. Thank you. This is something Alexander Hamilton had written. Is the truth unquestionably is that the only path to a subversion of the Republican system of the country is by flattering the prejudices of people and exciting their jealousies and apprehensions to throw affairs into confusion and bring on civil commotion. We haven't seen any of that happening, have we? No. When a man unprincipled in private life, desperate in his fortune, bold in his temper, possessed of considerable talents, despotic in his ordinary demeanor, known to have scoffed in private at the principles of liberty, when such a man is seen to mount the hobby horse of popularity, to join in the cry of danger to liberty, to take every opportunity of embarrassing the general government and bringing it under suspicion, to flatter and fall in with the nonsense of the zealots of the day, it may justly be suspected that his object is to throw things into confusion, that he may ride the storm and direct the whirlwind. We have been watching this happen for the last 4 years, ladies and gentlemen. We have seen it. This man back in 1762, 1792, penned this, predicting the prolific and horrific damage that can come from the sorts of people like we are seeing, people that are taking the craziest freaking nutsy stuff. You have got to admit, the things that have been happening in our country at the hands of our representatives, at the hands of our education system, at the hands of our police, at the hands of our local governments, all the crazy things that have been going on, the people are embracing it. Oh yeah, white, fantastic. It seems like whatever the latest crazy, idiotic thing that there is to come, people turn around and don't decry it. They wrap their arms around it. This is happening. And it can only serve to the diminution in value of our country as it is. It must be stopped. We need people to come and to bring order back to our republic. And I'm praying to God that it happens. The more and more we're starting to see now that people are realizing the dangers of what have happened, and they're going to be taking, I pray to God, the right steps. I myself am taking a drink of peach iced tea with a couple of strawberries on the inside. All right, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you remember that quirky little thing that happened a few years ago called the COVID-19? And all of the Mishigas and Hazarai that came around with the vaccines and this and that, and all, it said, oh, you put on the mask and you got to be 6 feet away from each other for no apparent reason. And of course, there really wasn't any science behind it. But at the time, they said, oh, follow the science. Put on a mask, breathe in a mask, whether you're in the car or in the house, or you can't go out, but, oh, you can go out and you can't have a job, you can't work, but, oh, wait a minute, people can still go out and do a job taking care of golf courses and certain other things. Well, all right, fine. You and I and all of the people that have half a brain now realize that all of the things that happened during the COVID-19, the shutdowns, with all of this and that, and up and up and up and up and up, was all a bunch of horse shit. And probably one of the biggest travesties ever to happen was this thing with the vaccines, forcing all of the people, telling them you're either going to get vaccinated or you're going to get this and that, people saying, well, if you don't get vaccinated, well, then you can't work and you're going to lose your job and die and this, that, and blah, 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 and whatever else. So all the people lined up, a lot of people following, oh, no, the government would never do anything that would hurt them. Absolutely not. People all lined up, and they stood in lines for sometimes hours, sometimes days, waiting to get themselves jabbed in the arm, the leg, the butt, wherever the hell they gave it, with this stuff, not realizing what was to come. And it has come. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, there is one drug company that has admitted that they know now that, yes, their vaccine causes blood clots, causes people harm. So now, what do the people that have been harmed do? Well, we have an article about a lady who just won an award by a jury of nearly $700,000, not because her body was malformed or harmed or whatever else, but because she herself was harmed by her company that she worked for, who said, you either get the vaccination or you're fired. And she said, look, I can't take the vaccination. I have a religious objection to it. Part of my religion says I can't have these medications, injections, this, that, whatever else. And they said, we don't care. They said, fuck your religion. You're either getting the jab or you're going out the door. And they said, well, nothing's ever going to happen to us. Nobody's going to do anything to us. We're protecting our people. But the lady went through the system, the court, and she was awarded a number of different things. We have, and I want to say thank you very much to Blazeman. I had a slide to put up, whatever else. Mr. Blazeman has found some video for us. Blazeman, if you've got that, you want to go ahead and launch that, I'd appreciate it. And let's show the public what I'm talking about.
In a world where COVID-19 vaccine mandates are becoming the norm, a woman's refusal to comply has led to an unexpected payout of almost $700,000. Tanya Benton, an employee at Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, sparked controversy when she refused to get vaccinated. Benton, a biostatistical research scientist, made the decision based on her religious beliefs. She was of the conviction that the vaccines were derived from aborted fetus cell lines, a claim that has been debunked. Her job did not involve regular contact with people, and she had been working from home throughout the pandemic without issue. Benton requested a religious exemption from the company's vaccine mandate, but was denied. This denial led to her termination, a move that prompted her to take legal action. She sued the company for wrongful termination, citing her refusal to comply with the vaccine mandate was based on sincerely held religious beliefs. The case was taken to federal court where the jury sided with Benton. They found that her refusal to get vaccinated was indeed grounded in her religious beliefs. As a result, she was awarded almost $700,000 in a settlement. This sum included back pay, compensatory damages, and punitive damages. Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee defended its vaccine mandate, expressing that it was the best decision for its employees and members. Despite their disappointment with the outcome of the case, the verdict stands as a precedent. In a nutshell, Tanya Benton's refusal to comply with a COVID-19 vaccine mandate led to her termination, a lawsuit, and an almost $700,000 settlement. The case highlights the ongoing tension between individual rights, religious beliefs, and public health mandates. It serves as a reminder that the conversation around vaccine mandates is far from over and continues to evolve in surprising ways.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Blazman for finding that. I don't know who it was who generated that video, but I want to thank them for allowing us to use the content. Thank them very, very much. So now you've seen that and you've heard. Now you know and understand, I think, why I'm pointing to our Constitution. We as Americans have a constitutional right, and not just as Americans, but as human beings, have certain inalienable rights. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So the woman had the right to follow her religious convictions. The company she worked for, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Tennessee, did not have the right to say, screw you and your religious convictions, take the shot or get the hell out. No. And it is time. And now, if you we don't have the paperwork up in front of us. Maybe, Mr. Blaze, but if you have that slide, I want to be able to show, hopefully I believe it has it, what the breakdown was for the payout of this. I believe they awarded her some money for her lost wages. The jury awarded her $10,000 in actual damages, and I believe it was $500,000 or so in $500,000 in punitive damages. So she was paid total of $177,000 in back pay, $10,000 in compensatory damages, and $500,000 in punitive damages. This is just one case against one employer, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I wonder how much further this is going to be able to go, because there are people who work for towns and cities. There are people who work for state employees. There are people who work as federal employees that all, I'm sure, have gone through this. Now, the companies that produced these vaccines or whatever race have made billions of dollars. But the people that forced people to get this injection shoved into their skin for whatever reason or whatever else, aren't they to blame? There are people now, and there are serious numbers of people that are being found that indeed they have suffered injuries from the vaccinations. Specifically, people who suffer from blood clots, and there are other sorts of ailments. I have here in front of me a 21-page report out of all things, I believe it was Wisconsin Department of Health Services. Just in Wisconsin alone, there were almost 6,000 workers' compensation claims for damages because having to do with COVID vaccination injuries. People who suffered COVID vaccination injuries. But when you go through the report, and I'm going to do some reading through this report. When you go through the report, because of the way that they jostle their paperwork and get picayune with this and slide this number to that number, whatever else, they surmise in their paperwork that only about 104 people were actually injured, even though there are almost 6,000 claims that were filed. The reasons for those other claims being denied are incredibly, to say the least, they're incredibly stupid and vapid. But you know what we're looking at, and they're doing anything and everything they can to limit the amount of money that they're going to have to pay out. The report that I read is COVID-19 vaccine injury claims, Wisconsin Workers' Compensation, Wisconsin Department of Health Services. I got this, and this was generated in April of 2023. They have a page here, executive summary. I'm not going to go through all of the I'll just read some of the highlighted material. We identified a total of 104 claims of COVID-19 vaccine injuries. This is one state. The demographic composition of claimants differed from that of the working age population, and vaccinated individuals with higher rates between the ages of 46 to 65, females and Black or African Americans. Rates were lower for ages 16 to 25 and those who were white. I don't know why they're making these distinctions or whatever else. Doesn't make any difference to me. All I know is these people. Well, all right, we'll continue on with it. The majority of claimants worked in healthcare industries and occupations. So we're only talking about people. The majority of the people that we're talking about here worked in healthcare industries and that sort of thing. If you were a person working in an auto garage, an auto mechanic, or somebody a machinist or whatever else, they're not even talking about those folks. The majority of people claims work in healthcare industries and occupations with education and administrative positions standing out as well. Although several claims were paid out over an extended period of time, and some reported severe side effects like blood clots and so forth. All claim payments were temporary, indicating a return to the workforce. Temporary, I suspect it was only because they deemed them as temporary and shut off the people's claims. Why? To limit their liability. The introduction of COVID-19 vaccines was hailed as a boon for public health, as well as to keep protecting workers and bringing them safely back to the work site. Once vaccines became available, the federal government and many companies pursued universal workplace vaccination as a goal. They deliberately wanted each and every individual, regardless of their race, creed, color, whatever their belief was, or anything else, they wanted to make sure everybody got jabbed with the junk. It says it right there. We're going to be coming back in about 3 minutes. Politicking Mr. B. We're talking about some serious shit tonight. I'll see you in a couple minutes.
Well, I've got spare parts from my last broken heart. somehow more than what I had to start. Yeah, I've got spare parts. I tried to fix it best I remembered it. I hope it runs when I fire it up, 'cause I got spare parts. So if you see something that you might need, anything you can use, what's left of it might be a perfect fit, 'cause I got spare parts. Took a piece of you, like lovers often do. I'll try to make it good as new, 'cause I got spare parts. So if you see something that you might need, anything you can use, what's left of it might be the perfect fit, 'cause I've got spare parts. What's left of it might be the perfect fit, 'cause I've got spare.
That's all, folks.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back here. POLI-TICKING with Mr. B. We are talking tonight about the COVID-19 vaccine and what it's done with people and what is being on. And we're waiting for the next shoe to drop out of this shoe store, because Lord knows, where there's a lawyer, there's a way to sue, and I can smell it coming. I can smell it coming. Somewhere along the line, someone is going to find some kind of a backdoor to start suing, and it's going to go on probably for decades with all of these things. And by the way, before I go into anything else, I want to take a look over here on my shoulder. You see this nice, wonderful American flag, beautiful flag we've got here. I want to reach out and I want to thank my dear engineer. Sent me a wonderful gift of that flag. I want to thank you very, very much, Mr. Blazeman. God bless you for it. I look at it, and it's exactly what this room needed. I want to say thank you very much. Okay, as a matter of fact, I'm going to do a little more reading over here from what we were talking about. In this report, we review Wisconsin's workers' compensation data during December 2020 to 2021 to characterize reported COVID-19 vaccine injuries among Wisconsin's working age population and determine the number of claims filed by vaccine injured workers. Again, I'm not reading the entire report because it'll bore the living hell out of you and confuse you too. Vaccinations in the workplace. On November 5th, 2021, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, we know them as OSHA, released an emergency temporary standard, what's called an ETS, which required all employees at private workplaces with at least 100 workers be vaccinated or undergo weekly testing and masking. Although the ETS was challenged and withdrawn on January 26th of 2022, a rule issued by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services requiring vaccinations for workers in healthcare settings remained in place. So one entity said had the thing challenged and it was removed, and then something else stepped in and said, no, we're putting it back, at least for these people. All right, we've got a video that I want you to have a look at too, ladies and gentlemen. Again, don't listen to me. Let's see. Let's follow the science. Let's follow the video. Mr. Blazeman, you can go ahead and roll that. If you got it. All right.
Well, a warm welcome to this talk. It's Sunday, the 5th of May. Now, I believe that the truth about COVID vaccines is starting to come out. I wasn't sure whether it would or not for quite a long time, whether this would be suppressed or whether it would come out into the public domain, as it were, or the widespread public domain. And what I want to look at today is a very encouraging article from the New York Times. This was published 2 days ago. This is the article here. Thousands believe COVID vaccines harm them. Is anyone listening? Now, this article is not sort of an interrogative, analytical article that you and I might like, but what it does do is it admits overtly that there are serious side effects in some people with these vaccines, but it still does take the overall tenor that the vaccines were beneficial altogether, which we could discuss and we have discussed. But it's a move in the right direction. Now, why I think this is so important is this. Now, if we look at this here, this is called the Overton window. Now, what was unthinkable, completely unthinkable, becomes a radical idea. Then it can become acceptable. Then it can be sensible. Then it can be popular. Then it can be policy. And of course, that can come from either direction. So the window has changed. The window slides up and down on this thing here, as I understand it. And so I think we're moved now to, I would say, when probably at the acceptable level now, because it's in some aspects of the mainstream media, or some aspects of thinking are in the mainstream media. Now, I don't think I've gone intellectual. I only got that from Claire Craig's Twitter account, so that's how I knew about that. But I think it's a very good model. It shows that things are starting to come out now much more into the public domain. Now, let's look at some of the detail here. This is more or less straight from the article, published on the 3rd of May 2024. Case study it starts off with. I've decided not to use names on this. The names are in the article. The article, you can get it. I think you might have to register, but you don't have to pay for it. You can actually get the article, which is also good because New York Times articles are often paywalled. So that's another very encouraging sign that this is coming into the more public spectre of consideration. So I'm not going to use the names, but 37-year-old woman, fit and well, within minutes of getting the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine, felt pain racing from her left arm up to her ear and down to her fingertips. So pain straight away, within minutes. And that's got implications as well. Was there an inadvertent intravascular administration or a greater level of intravascular administration, you might think, but we don't know that. Felt pain racing down from her left arm to her ear and down to her fingertips. Horrible. Within days, she was unbearably sensitive to light and struggled to remember simple facts. And it's interesting that it actually starts off with this. So this is the New York Times. So it's quite a powerful starting paragraph, really, I thought. Now, 3 years later, diagnosed with brain damage, cannot work, drive or stand for long periods of time. She says, devastation of what this has done to my life and how much I've lost. And one of many accounts, of course, and we have interviewed so many people. Kyle Warner, that we interviewed just a couple of days ago on this channel. I'll put a link to the video. Who's now campaigning for vaccine damage awareness. As of April 2024, there was over 13,000 vaccine injury compensation claims filed with the federal government. Now, what I've done here is I've actually taken the data that is published, government data here from the United States, and they are saying that there's 13,116 claims, but what is telling on this is compensated claims 12. So in the United States, 12 people have been compensated for vaccine damage. 12 out of the entire country.
Can you
Quite
hold the video,
incredible.
please?
Of the cases,
This report that this man is talking about, I can understand what he is saying. But right here in this report from Wisconsin counters that. These people are covering up big time and doing a piss poor job of it. They are covering up the number of people that have filed claims.
Who's covering up what, B?
Whoever it is that's filed this particular report saying that from the federal government, they're saying that only that amount of people have filed. When I've got paperwork here just from the state of Wisconsin alone that almost 6,000 people filed claims, but they shut a bunch of those down for innocuous, stupid reasons. Like they didn't check a right box on a piece of paper or whatever else.
This gentleman says 12 claims paid out.
Right.
You're talking about 6,000 people made a claim.
And this report from Wisconsin says that 104 people were paid out.
Oh, okay. All right. So now you're on track, pal. Sorry, I just thought I needed to push you there. I felt the wheel moving off the track a tiny bit. All right.
I'm not debunking this gentleman. No, not at all. I'm debunking the report that he's been given and that they're throwing around. These people are trying to cover up the damage that this shit did to the American people and to other people around the world.
Well, I mean, it was on international TV when they were showing some doctors or whatever that came up with the virus and shit. And, I've watched it where they gave a nurse the shot right there on TV and she passed right out.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, sorry to have bounced in, buddy.
No, it's quite all right. Thank you very much. Go ahead. We can roll this video again.
That have been put forward, 19% have been reviewed, 47% deemed ineligible for compensation so far. 12 claims paid out, an average of $3,600. This has to change because firstly, these people deserve recognition. And secondly, we have to restore trust in our medical systems. Now, those medical systems have now got to prove themselves. The journal system, the pharmaceutical system, they've got to prove themselves worthy of trust. And that's quite a big ask, some might think. But we have to have this transparency because at the moment we have this lack of trust and it's doing no one any good whatsoever. And to hide these things is not fostering trust and understanding and the reality of the situation. This has to be remedied. Immunologist, vaccine expert, University of Yale University. People who say they have post-vaccine injuries just completely ignored, dismissed and gaslighted, which has happened so often, very often, especially in the early stages. People simply told this was an anxiety-related problem. Janet Woodcock, recently retired director of the FDA. This is quite interesting, actually. The people that are free to talk are often retired, and we could give a few examples, or nearing retirement. Or feel free to talk, which again is a tragic situation. We have to have freedom of medical scientific expression. Otherwise, we're going to return to the Dark Ages. There's so many implications to this. They just go on and on. Anyway, Janet Woodcock. Some recipients got uncommon but serious life-changing reactions beyond those described by federal agencies. So, okay. Now, interesting, Janet Woodcock's not saying rare here. She's gone down to, is uncommon weaker word than rare? I would have thought so. Then she says, I feel bad for those people. I believe their suffering should be acknowledged. This is key. The suffering needs to be acknowledged and they have real problems and they should be taken seriously. And to her credit, she's saying, I'm disappointed in myself. And many of us, of course, are disappointed in ourselves, but it's good for people to admit that. I'm disappointed in myself. I'm sure many of you are. But for someone who's been in a senior position to acknowledge that I would say it's encouraging. It's a step towards freedom of speech and expression and the reality of the situation. Again, Janet Woodcock, again, I did a lot of things I feel very good about, fair enough. But this is one of the few things I just feel I didn't bring it home. The article then comments on disparities in disparate US healthcare systems. So what it does, the article does say that US healthcare systems, you might go to a pharmacy for a vaccine and then your doctor might not know about it if you've got a doctor, and it's all compartmentalized. So collecting data in the United States is a problem. In the United Kingdom, it's not. The problem here is my government has released data on vaccine adverse reactions and people that are no longer with us to the pharmaceutical industry, but has not released it to the public domain for interrogation by our scientists, epidemiologists and statisticians. So it's a different situation. In America, the data is difficult to collect. In the UK, we are being secretive about it. Two different situations, I think. Article then, disparities, the disparate nature, sort of all divided. No central responsibility of vaccine recipients in the States. Government Compensation Fund officially recognised a few side effects for COVID vaccines. And vaccine supporters, including federal officials, worry that even a whisper of possible side effects leads to misinformation, spread by a vitriolic anti-vaccine movement. Okay, there is an anti-vaccine movement. There's also a movement that I would like to think I'm not represent, but a very small part of people that are simply looking for the truth. We want to follow the evidence. That's all we want to do. So there's been this idea that government officials haven't dared whisper anything about any vaccine adverse reaction because this group of ogres, these hideous people that would you weaponize this against this oh so good vaccination program. I'll let you decide where you lie on that continuum. I'm not so sure the vaccine program is that good, but you'll have your own opinions on that. Now, patients who believe they experienced a serious.
Well, you've seen that, and I'm sure anyone who wants to further investigate that, there's got to be plenty of information like this that is out on the web at the moment. In the meantime, what do you do? Where do you go? Where do people who are injured, who have suffered, turn for these reasons? Where do you go? How do you seek compensation? Federal government's turning around and turning their back on people. Right? So you can't sue the federal government. Well, the drug makers, this, that, whatever else. Nobody knows which way to go. This or certainly they're trying like hell to not let you know how many people actually have been affected. How many millions of people have been injected with this junk? And what has it done to them? What are the long-term effects? Are there people that are suffering no effects now, but in 3 or 5 years from now going to have things to present? What is it going to do over the long term to so many people? We have seen a judgment for a young lady because her workplace forced her to either get an injection or leave because of religious conviction, not because she was injured by the vaccine that was forced into her. But there are millions of Americans here in the United States that have been given this vaccination that are now suffering ill effects. And people are all walking around scratching their head wondering, where do we go? How do we fix this? And how do we get compensated for it? I have been trod upon. I have been damaged. What has happened here clearly does not speak well for the words that are contained in our Constitution. While promoting the general welfare, securing the blessings of liberty, because what happened over the COVID-19 thing was anything but liberty. People forced to stay home, entire school years canceled, businesses shut down against the will of the owners, people stuck inside houses against their will, forced to comply with the most silly, incredibly stupid rules and regulations, just like going into a supermarket or any other place, and it all did nothing. This is not the America that was written about in 1787. What happened to the people here is a travesty. It is a befoulment of our Constitution. And there are so many people that it has happened to, there can be no recompense for the disgusting way the American government treated its people. All that having been said, we got a show coming up. The I-12 GIA group, they're coming up next. I'm glad to see that they're here, and I know they're going to enjoy it. I'm Mr. B. We've been talking about the COVID-19 vaccine and its fallout for people. If you have some information about it, maybe you've learned something new, please, by all means, write in. We can write in at FFN Network 9, FFN Network 9 at gmail.com, or give us a call. 974-4231 is a call in. I'm Mr. B. We're going to see you, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you next week. Take care.